Hello everyone, welcome back to GameSpot. We are starting our Game of the Year countdown right here today, this Monday morning. We're going to be counting down every single of our top 10 games, starting out every weekday until the 20th, on which we will announce 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Pete Brown.
What's up?
Michael Hyam.
What up?
Miguel Concepcion.
Hi.
And I'm Mike Mahardy. Me and Pete will be on all these hosting it, and we're going to have guests on that either review the game or like it, or just general experts on the game. Again, we are going to be live streaming throughout the coming week, and then up until next Wednesday. Today we're going to be chatting about our number 10 game, and then we're going to be actually playing it for a while. But without further ado, I will just get into the montage for our number 10 game. Here you go.
Everything that lives is designed to end. We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death.
Glory to mankind.
Glory to mankind.
Give up our struggle. We will take back the seas, the skies, the land. We will take back our world from the scourge of the machines. We will not fail in this mission. Here and now, we will put an end to this goddamn war. Glory to mankind.
Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment? I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
So there you have it. Nier Automata, or Automata as I prefer to say, is GameSpot's number 10 game of the year. Miguel Concepcion, you reviewed this game back earlier in the year, like first quarter, in a packed first quarter. Yeah.
Yes.
In a nutshell, before we get into specifics, what is so great about this game from Yoko, Taro, and Platinum Games?
Well, it's an action RPG developed by Platinum Games, and it's a first of its kind collaboration between Yoko, Taro, and Platinum. And if you know the type of action that Platinum Games develops, seeing it in this open world RPG setting is a rare treat.
Yeah.
And it throws in all these philosophical themes about android autonomy and
humanity too,
right?
Like conversely. Michael, I do want to talk about, as far as Platinum is involved. Tell me about the combat and like the progression as far as you're upgrading your characters, 9S and 2B and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's not traditional in the sense. Well, you gain levels, but there's no like stat-based stuff that you would see in other action RPGs.
Sure.
Instead, there's the chip system. And you can essentially customize what you're able to do. You can, get health back as you destroy other enemies, or you can attack faster, move faster, different things like that you can customize. And you have a limited number of slots. Obviously, you can buy more, but you're still limited. And I think that gameplay-wise, you're going to get that Platinum action that's like super fast-paced. It's crazy, off the walls. That kind of keeps you engaged, but within that you have the chip system that makes you think about what you want to do, how you want to engage the enemies. And since you get so many chips too, you often have to think about what you have and how much space you have and what you want to be doing.
Yeah, Miguel, right here you can see in the B-roll that it's not just like a third-person action game all the time. It like kind of fluctuates between action genres. Like sometimes it's a bullet hell, other times it almost approaches being a 2D platformer. Can you talk about like how fluidly it jumps between these kinds of combat?
Yeah, I was very impressed with like how seamless it is, and it just speaks to the sort of just unconventional gameplay and even like narrative approaches that Yoko Taro's executed. Even just the amount of, I think the soundtrack is predominantly vocalized. From this kind of soaring type of solo vocals to these haunting chants. The whole game just sort of this oozes in sort of unconventional designs, but very approachable at the same time.
Yeah, that unconventional style also carries on throughout the entire game, whether you're, like you can see here, where it's like top-down action, and then it goes to a traditional third-person action, and then you have like mech combat, and then like you said, with music structure, but also in the way the narrative is told, and it does a lot of neat things that I don't think is like it shouldn't. You should know this going into the game, that there will be surprises, not in just like how the story is told, but the things it makes you do within the story. As you'll see later in the playthrough, is that it kind of does this really neat thing that really strikes with me, was when games take control out of your hands to kind of move the game forward, or it messes with what you can and can't do when you don't know it's coming.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, when you mentioned the unconventional gameplay style and also unconventional narrative, and you piece those together, and you get something really special, I think.
Yeah, without talking about spoilers, we're not going to spoil it. If you're going to stick around for the live stream after, we might talk about spoilers. But right now, we'll avoid them. How does that work in terms of like the pacing from one playthrough to the next? Actually, first of all, calling them playthroughs, Miguel, you were saying, is a bit of a misnomer. Do you want to talk about that?
Right. Well, Yoko Taro is sort of playing with player expectations as to what an ending is. The first time you see the first end credits, you're really seeing the end of the first chapter. And depending on like how many endings you come across, you'll actually you could end up seeing up to 26 endings, but there are 5 main endings for you to see the complete picture.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, like, that also kind of, I was just touching on, it might affect the pacing from one playthrough to the next, which is very different. I mean, you will see things from different perspectives. You might have different abilities as different people, but again, we won't spoil exactly who you play as and what happens. But Michael, from playthrough to playthrough, how does that affect like your overall perception of the game as far as like going through it once and then twice and then 3 times as this person or the next?
I have many feelings about this, but I think, how do I say this? So there's playthrough A, playthrough B, or, well, I would actually call them chapters like we mentioned earlier, because you don't get the whole picture within even the second, what we call playthrough. It presents more questions and answers that I always say that, but it really does. And then you kind of piece them together the more you play. Now with the second, I think you should know this going in, is that, you're gonna have to go through these 3 different quote unquote playthroughs. But it keeps presenting these different questions to you, like, it shows you things but doesn't give you the answer, and then it kind of wraps up by the 3rd playthrough. So it's not a spoiler to know that, but the way in which it does it is very very special, because like I said, it doesn't give you the answers, but it gives you the foundation to kind of look back at everything else it does and kind of piece it together yourself, like, oh snap, like that was this reveal, this is what this meant. And we often play games that have stories that, they have traditional story beats, which is fine, like, especially if it's well told. But if you're going to go for this thing, you almost run the risk of like plot holes or things being like not hitting players the way you want them to. And I think they did, Yoko Taro and the people who created this narrative did a really good job of making sure that things weren't lost on you without being very overt.
Yeah, and then Pete, I think me and you during the Game of the Year deliberations have been asking people who played like all 3 playthroughs, the world itself, it almost seems a little bit bland, I'd say. Like when you're going from the deserts to the kind of android encampments back to the urban sprawl that's been desecrated since humans androids rose up and like whatever the backstory happens to be. Do you think that from what you played, that the combat and the narrative actually makes up for this world, or do you even like the world to begin with when you're traveling through it?
I actually like the aesthetic. For me, the starkness isn't really an issue. I think there's sometimes greatness in simplicity. I could definitely understand some criticisms though, because it is tonally bland in some ways. But I just think the complete mix of everything that is here to maybe focus on something like that is missing the forest for the trees. I'm not using that saying correctly, I don't think.
I think it works.
Yeah, cool, I did it. All right. But yeah, no, it's the sort of game where I think it really begs you to think about things and engage in such a way that the environments probably shouldn't be the thing you're focusing on. And if you are, maybe you're just looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems so compelling and engaging on so many different levels that I couldn't help but fall in love with those things.
So Miguel, again, this game is kind of tough to talk about without like giving off spoilers. What makes it so great and what makes it, despite the fact that it was a packed beginning of 2017, this game stood out among those games for us as being memorable. But in a nutshell, do you think like the first Nier was kind of a cult classic, right? When people announced the sequel, people like a lot of people were like, "Oh shit, this is going to be awesome! I'm really excited for this." But a lot of other people were like, "Okay, I got to go back and look at what the first Nier was about, and then I got to see what Yoko Taro's interests are." And of course, I think Platinum is the name that drew me in with the combat. But this collaboration, like obviously, you think it paid off. Like in a nutshell, what makes this collaboration pay off so well in 2017?
I think being able to actually play a Platinum game in an open world is something we haven't actually seen. And if you're really into Yoko Taro, I mean, if you're into Yoko Taro as a result of Nier Automata, you should even like check out the Drakengard game. That is technically part of the same universe. It's a game with dragons, and there aren't any dragons in this game. But in his mind, in his world that he's conceived, this is all from his imagination. I think that as sorry.
Well, no, Michael, I was going to say like overall, like the actual kind of. It's every time people talk about this game, I've been making the joke that people kind of sound pretentious when they say they really like this game.
Yeah.
But there are some like big philosophical questions and themes in this game. Do you think that it pays off? Do you think that they actually nailed it, or do you think like was it too narratively ambitious?
So I think it can go two ways. Yeah. It can either hit you like damn that like that's really impactful. This all makes sense to me. And wow, I got to be it for me as someone who really likes this game. It almost makes you reflective once you finish it. Like, let me think about my world and how I feel about things. Or you can finish it and be like, what were they trying to do? Like, oh, they're trying to be too far up their own whatever.
Butts.
Yeah, sure. So I think it can go both ways in that regard. But if it hits you, it hits you hard. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't land with you, then you're just like, oh, okay, this is like a good action game. But I didn't really like someone cannot connect with these themes. But if it does, like I said, like if it does connect with you, it can really hit home. And I think that. They do really special things with also what it means to be conscious, what it means to be alive, without getting too philosophical. Because, like often good, like cyberpunk or sci-fi,
it's like Blade Runner themes.
Yeah, so it doesn't ask you the question of whether or not androids and robots are conscious. No, that's already established. They are conscious. Mm-hmm. They do have these feelings. So what they can do is essentially distill human philosophy, distill human conditions, and tell them in a very straightforward way through androids and robots that makes you kind of think about like different the way in which this world has like different like societies and different collective communities and stuff. So I think it does a really good job of really making you think about things on a very granular level without being too abstract.
Yeah, and clearly it hit a lot of us on GameSpot staff really hard in a fantastic year for releases in 2017, especially the first half in which this came out. This is one of the games that we really remembered. So if you stick around, we are going to be playing it. If you're watching this on YouTube or GameSpot after the fact, go back to GameSpot for all the rest of our Game of the Year coverage. But in the meantime, let's get to playing it. Miguel, we're going to have you drive. You have had a lot of experience in this game. So you can do a chapter select, right? Once you
correct.
You get into it. We will be playing for, I don't know, we'll see how long we play for. Maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour to see how interesting. Because this game is tough to show in a nutshell as opposed to a lot of other games that came out this year. Because like you guys said, it is kind of the long run that this game pays off in, despite the fact that the combat is very fun in the short term. But yeah, this is where, Miguel, you want to kind of fill us in where you're going to be starting from?
We are going to be checking out this amusement park, which sort of just speaks to the surrealness of the overall world in itself. You're investigating this theme park, and you are joined with 9S, your sidekick.
Who's your boy? Your boy 9S.
Michael, so are you a 2B fan or a 9S fan?
I'm all about 2B, dog.
How can you choose?
9S is cool. I mean, so we're doing or we can touch on.
Yeah, we'll hold off a little bit longer. Yeah, we'll hold off a little bit longer. But if you are sticking around for the stream right now, which we really hope you do, if you have beaten this game, otherwise, or if you don't care about spoilers, stick around. But again, we are
We'll
going to
allude.
take this gameplay commentary in a little bit. This is your official spoiler warning.
Yeah,
been
we
warned.
are alluding to some things that do happen.
Yes,
But, I mean-
because to really sell this game, go play it for yourself if you haven't yet, and then come back tomorrow for the rest of our Game of the Year series. We'll be announcing number 9. But Michael,
Yo.
in like 20 seconds,
So-
you have free reign to talk about what you want to talk about.
I was just gonna say that 9S really comes around the longer you play this game, the more you see. You kind of sympathize with him in many ways because of his relationship to 2B and his relationship to Yorha.
Yeah.
Myha?
Yorha,
Yours.
all of ours.
That's the Android
Yeah.
organization.
YOHRA.
What does it stand for?
I don't think it stands for anything.
Oh.
It never tells you.
Oh, I bet Yoko Taro knows.
Oh
what it
yeah,
stands for.
I'm sure there is
Well, it's
something.
just like the title of the game is like capitalized randomly in weird spots.
Nothing is
Yorha!
random. Nothing is random.
Yorha!
Everything happens for a reason.
Circling back to something we were chatting about earlier, I think what's really cool is to see a game like this be able to convey Yoko Taro's sort of wild ideas, but within a game that's actually fun to play
Yeah.
and like pretty solid. Like connected to Drakengard, yes, but Drakengard games had never really been like something that you want to recommend to play to someone else.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you've got to really be into like this sort of Japanese game and be able to overlook these flaws. Whereas Platinum delivers almost such a flawless gameplay experience that you kind of get into that first, and you're sold on the game before you really do start to get to the more philosophical stuff, which is just such a nice pairing.
Yeah, like finally he has the gameplay to back up the story that he wants to tell
Right.
in a way.
Yeah, I remember
Thank you,
the
it's more
first,
succinct.
the first,
Oh,
the first Drakengard played like a very stiff Dynasty Warriors game.
Yeah, right. Just like
played
nothing,
those.
nothing interesting.
It's super interesting that earlier this year between Breath of the Wild, this, and Horizon Zero Dawn, all of which are essentially post-apocalypse games, seeing each of them have a different take on post-apocalypse. Like obviously Zelda is this beautiful yet like evil tinted world in Hyrule. Obviously, Horizon is like at once a post-apocalyptic tale, but also a fantasy game, but also just like a sci-fi novel, sci-fi game in general. Whereas this is just all about the androids and like what are humans up to and how are they rebuilding after like androids rose up, right? The backstory is that androids, it's the typical like androids turned, or no, machines took over and then androids
It's
are
like
being sent-
Wall-E.
yeah.
Yeah, and androids
It's a very violent Wall-E.
it's a very much it's a
Earth-
more mature Wall-E.
Earth was invaded by alien machines.
Okay,
And
so aliens
these-
drop machines on Earth, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
so then you start off with androids and humans or whatever on the moon being sent back to reclaim Earth,
Yeah.
like in small scout parties, which is a dope premise to begin with. But then, of course, now they're like these Lolita dressed androids, makes it even a weirder aesthetic.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I almost see this as the Yorha units are modeling themselves after what humans would want them to see them as in some strange abstract
Harajuku
way.
humans. Humans who
Yeah.
live in the fashion district of Tokyo exclusively.
First of all, I mean,
The androids haven't ventured out past that neighborhood.
one, I want to address Miguel over here, so we're in the amusement park where not everyone is hostile to you. Some of these machines are, they
Miguel's
literally
been
live.
smoking
Yeah,
them.
he's been like slaughtering them. These machines come here and they're like, happy, yay, we're in a like festival, we're in an amusement park, this is so much fun.
This game asks questions about existing and not existing. Miguel answers those questions
Yeah, it's
by
like,
making you not exist.
I know, damn man, you're a savage,
Well,
dog.
yeah, and like who you just choose to destroy actually does factor in to some of the themes in the narrative.
Yeah. Like these right here are evil because there's like the people.
Well, they're not wearing their seatbelt on the roller coaster for one, which
Yeah.
is really dangerous.
Well, you don't look at this. You stand right there and nothing's gonna happen to you. So
This looks like a more like sex-tinged Disneyland, especially with the fireworks.
what
How
else?
have they not
what
run
else
out?
beyond your outfit is sexual?
Everything. Look at all these phallic shapes. in the
Freud was
background.
right, I
Yeah.
guess.
About me, at least.
Yeah,
Oh, speaking of which, the boss fights in this game.
Freud.
are
He just fights
Phallic. Yeah, talk about the boss. We'll see one shortly. But I remember during the previews for this game, I played it like twice. And again, I personally did not play the first Nier. Didn't know much about it until I played the demo for this game. It's like, oh shit, this piqued my interest. I knew who Yoko Taro was, but I didn't really know like all the kind of things he tries to do. But as far as the boss fights were concerned, when I played the demo of the earlier boss fight against that massive like crane, when you hack the crane arms, that was pretty fun. Which of course 9S helps you do the hacking. But they're great boss fights. I mean, we can see it right here, but Michael, you won't shut up about the boss fights. You like them a lot.
Yeah, boss fights are dope because they give you different phases in a lot of them. And like, for example, this is a good one too because you get a taste of the hacking minigame in this one. So you're playing as 2B, 9S does the hacking, but once you make it towards the tail end of this boss fight, if you get hit by a certain, there's other units that drop down, and if you get hit by them, you have to escape by playing the hacking minigame. And I think this might be your first exposure to it, because I remember playing this boss fight and being like, yeah, right here. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? You kind of have to think on the fly, like, what am I supposed to be doing here? And then so you're exposed to, this is how the game teaches you the hacking minigame.
Just like real life.
Yeah. It's like throws it at you, like, oh, figure this out for yourself, dog.
Miguel, you are, compared to the first time you might fight this boss if you're playing this game, you are very over-leveled, right?
Yes.
This is after how many playthroughs? Or chapters, whatever you want to say?
This is after probably focusing on the 5 main paths, plus getting a handful of the other alternate endings. I'm level 50. I believe this boss is, what, 10,
Like level
15?
12 or something.
Yeah.
Then it gets real weird. Crucified androids left and right.
Yeah.
Sinners, yo.
This part is a good example of how the first playthrough and the second playthrough put you through the same story beats but give you a different perspective. Because with this boss battle, Simone, not Mary's dog.
Such an in joke if you're.
Simone, so you're fighting her here, and you're just kind of like, oh, she's attacking us. She's overcome by this concept of beauty. She wants to be beautiful and attract another machine robot. And then once you defeat her, you're just kind of like, oh, well, she's done. I don't care about her because I destroyed her. But in the second playthrough, you kind of, after hacking her so many times, you kind of look into her memories and what she was thinking, and you kind of, it's this tragic tale of someone who's trying to chase happiness, and like, oh, I'll be happy by attracting a mate. And so I'm gonna do all these things to make myself look beautiful, but to what end? And she's just overcome by, she ends up going mad by trying to chase this concept of what humans think of as beauty. And that's why she's so angry and you end up fighting her, is because she's just fucking wild, yo.
Speaking of trying to attract a mate, there's that one part in the open world later on after this, I believe, where a lot of the robots are like trying to have sex, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
And failing, but they just think they need to.
Yeah.
I don't know if like that, I mean, that kind of factors in. Like they feel like they need to be human and continue their legacy, I guess. But,
Yeah.
Right.
and then there was one like rocking nothing in a cradle. I don't know, they're just trying to be human, I
Yeah,
would assume.
this whole world is scattered with instances of robots trying to do what they think humans would do, and that's how a lot of them are finding meaning, is by looking at like, whoa, what did humanity do? And chasing those things. And man, it's once you kind of piece all those things together, these different societies, because there's different societies of machines within the world of this game, and they all kind of tell these different styles of life that we've seen through human history. Like there's the kingdom, so they look to a king, and then there's like someone who's essentially they look to as a god, and there's like the very hyper-religious kind of thing. And there's one that's like this this community of like everyone's equal, almost like socialistic kind of society that's very happy and carefree. And then like even more, even if you look at Yorha and you play later in the game, and how Yorha has this concept of humans, like these are the people that we need to fight for. And it kind of shows that almost everyone is the same, no matter who you look up to. And
No
that
matter
is
which
very,
robots you have sex with.
yeah, that too. It's very chilling in a way.
So if you had done that boss fight as 9S, you're in this playthrough, he's your sidekick, kind of. If you had done that boss fight as 9S, how would that have would it have played the same, or would it have played out differently?
It would have played pretty much the same, except that you have the ability to hack Simone, which is also a way to deal damage. So as 2B, you can only deal damage through like your sword and your pod.
Traditional means.
Yeah, and then as 9S, you so 2B has the heavy attack with triangle, but as 9S, you triangle like hacks into different robots, and then from there you play that hacking mini game, and then once you complete it, it kind of does like a nice chunk of damage.
Right.
And as 9S, I think that's the most of the way through. Especially with bigger boss battles, I did hacking. Plus, the hacking mini game is pretty cool until you do it like for the 100th time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
What would you compare that to, like Space Invaders?
That?
Galaga. I'm just naming
Like
old
Geometry
games.
Wars?
Yeah,
It's like Geometry
Wars.
Wars.
Yeah, it's not those two you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Street Fighter.
But while we're on
Yeah,
that,
definitely.
I guess I'm curious. Like, can we talk a little bit about maybe where this game falls short in some respects?
Sure.
To do it.
Well, the save system, and unfortunately, the shortcomings about the save system comes pretty early on.
Oh, the intro.
Right. And
Right.
the fact that if you end up dying in the opening minutes, the opening like half hour, you pretty much have to start over.
Yeah.
Was that intentional? I mean, obviously it was on their part intentional in some respects. I doubt they just forgot. But how does that serve the game at all, or is that just straight up a shortcoming?
I think that you could have done something for the players who may not be as invested, because this is your first impression.
It's an easy way to put someone off.
Yeah.
They want to make you question existence right away. So they make you cease to exist.
They sure do.
Yeah, that happened. So actually, I started playing the game. It was one of those instances where I thought it was fully downloaded, but it was only ready to play. So I started playing it,
Uh-oh.
and then I beat the intro, and then it's like, you have to wait this long to play it. And I forgot if maybe it was like the speed of my internet or something would have taken so long that I wouldn't have been able to play anything for like 16 hours. I'm like, well, shit, I'll just put this in standby mode and play on my Switch or something. But then I had to replay the intro.
Yeah.
And I would have
feel
loved
you.
a better introduction to this game, because this game, the more you put into it, the more you do get out of it, in my opinion. And I have gotten a lot out of it at this point. But yeah, it wasn't the smoothest start.
Let's talk about the DLC real quick, because that was
yeah.
pretty interesting for this game.
I didn't play it.
So it puts you. It introduced like an arena mode, Miguel. Is that right? And it lets you fight like the CEO of Square Enix as an android
yeah.
who like multiplied himself and would like spawn like 24 heads.
Yeah, we have a video of it of our live stream where I sit next to Rob, and it was pretty difficult. As even though I'm like at level 50, which is more than enough to beat the game,
Yeah.
I think I probably need to get to at least 70, 80 to actually. We didn't even unlock the CEO.
To destroy
yeah.
the president. Yeah, isn't it the
Right.
president and CEO you can fight? I thought it was two people, yeah. At this point in the game, if this is your first playthrough, this is the first time like what you have perceived as enemy robots kind of introduce you to their settlement, right? Or one of their settlements. This is when does this one have a name with a flag? Or just
I
a
don't think he
robot?
has a name, but you do.
Bill.
end up-
Yes, Bill's bringing you
it's
into
Bill.
their like Kashyyyk style Endor settlement.
Oh yeah, huh?
And this is just to show you that hey, we're all alike.
Yeah.
There's
There's
no right
a
and
distinction between robots who are connected to the network and those who are not connected to the network.
As
those-
9S,
So it's like the
as
Matrix.
2B and 9S, you are connected to the network, right?
What is the network? It's a very good question. Also, I think Yorha units are on their own network. They have like a
The Yorha network.
yeah, they have a separate ISP. So this isn't a,
Everyone
this
else
is,
is still on dial-up.
this is a world where net neutrality does not exist.
Fios hasn't
We're
gone to the
almost
moon
there.
yet.
Yeah. So this is a warning to y'all. This is
Yeah.
what the world's gonna look like.
This is the anti-net neutrality game.
Get
Yeah.
Google Fiber while you can, and you'll run shit. You'll be a warlord.
Yeah, look at these fools.
I can't help but look at them.
Waving flags is fun. They're so cute. Oh.
Machine Village is a very literal name, but I guess they're one for frills.
Well, it's Pascal's village once you meet the leader.
That's the name I was remembering. I knew there's someone here with
Pascal.
Yeah,
It's
they're
reminding me of Endor up in here.
philosopher fanboys.
that. Like,
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
Micah, you didn't.
Speaking of shortcomings, I think that it's funny because this is written into the game, is that the map system isn't very good.
They justify it lore-wise.
Yeah, they tell you, oh, we can't get very good signal down there, so the map isn't going to have a high resolution, so you can't really tell where things are. And it's like, then you kind of struggle, especially with the side quests, which are really good. Oftentimes, I found myself like, is this on a floor above? Is this below me? Like,
Yeah.
am I in the right spot?
Especially those parking garages that have like 6 levels.
Yeah, there's a side quest to activate in that parking garage. I'm like, which
Yeah.
level am I supposed to be on? And I don't know. It's not the best way to present the side quests, but I mean,
One thing, speaking about like not having the best introduction, when I got into the game, and like we had kind of mentioned this just during the segment we were talking about the game, the production value didn't really pull me in, and I felt like there were some times they needed to cut corners. But like again, the more I played, the more I didn't care, and the more I actually like kind of was able to ignore it, if not completely just embrace it.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
what do you mean by that?
It's like, especially when I first got it, it's a sparse look, and then especially the actual, I think it was the mini-map itself when I first got into the open world, and I was looking for the resistance encampment really early on, like the second thing you do after you land, or sorry, after you do the intro.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel super polished. It felt polished, but it didn't look it.
Yeah,
And
I feel
I
you.
don't need games to look fantastic all the time. I know this isn't like Horizon and this or like fucking Crisis 3 or something, but
Yeah.
I
feel you.
did feel like there were parts where, like the minimap, for example, just looking at it, it feels like they did have to cut corners.
Yeah.
And maybe, like you mentioned, they just decided afterward to justify in the lore because that wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
Which seems weird because this is like, Miguel, you were saying this is the first time like Platinum's gone full open world. Could you even call it full open world? 'Cause there is kind of like Tomb Raider-ish blocks that you have to...
So it's a Metroidvania, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
With some
Sure.
very open areas.
Yeah, it's like a sandbox.
It's definitely not a traditional open world in the sense that, you know, what you would think of as like a Far Cry or like a Horizon, where it's like, here are all the side things you can do, and it does have side stuff, but it's very directed. Like these side quests are more or less pieces of narrative. Not saying that other side quests in other games are, but it's not necessarily like a checklist where you do different things, where it gives you a variety of gameplay opportunities. It's more of like, here's some more context into the world of Nier Automata and what is actually happening here.
Yeah.
I think one of the more chilling side quests almost is, I think it's...
Sorry, Miguel, do you want to pick another chapter that might be
Sure.
fun to watch?
So we made it to Pascal's village. We saw all the cute robots who don't want to fight. What would be another?
I think there's a boss fight.
Yeah, do a good boss fight or something.
Yeah.
Don't worry about crazy spoilers too much.
Maybe you can do the
Meat box.
what is it? You want to go there, boy? Ooh, this fool wants to go deep.
Is this the 9S playthrough?
This is the
Chapters?
very end of the game.
Oh, okay. Screw it. Let's
Hey,
go.
all right. We'll
You don't have any context. I think it's pretty action packed. I think.
Cool.
Yeah, you kind of. I guess if you don't know the context, then
And
it
it
wouldn't
just,
be.
I think it also like highlights like the soundtrack.
Definitely, and I think it also highlights the way in which the game keeps you on your toes by changing the gameplay style as well, especially at this
And
last
continually
piece.
takes clothes off you throughout the game.
Yeah, well,
You really notice it when you jump from straight to the end.
it's like, well, you know, we need to fight harder, so rip my clothes off, dog. But not
where are you?
9S.
We're
9S doesn't take his
inside
clothes off.
a tower.
The tower.
Is it Tower Babel?
Koshi.
Is it a Tower
No.
Babel situation?
Nope.
Do you guys even know what that is? I got a lot of silence after
Tower
that.
of Babel? Yeah, I just didn't know that. Like, no one knows how to communicate anymore.
Nope.
Divided the peoples of Earth.
Look at this. This is just wild, dude. Wait, this is where also it bounces you back to 9S as the flight unit. So you get a taste of the flight
the very
unit
beginning.
gameplay. Yeah. Yeah, you fight some crazy ass eyeballs in this game as well. And as A2, we can say it's A2, right?
Yeah.
A2 is another android who's essentially gone rogue, but she comes around, I think. She fits into the story nicely.
She's gone rogue in what sense? Broken off from Yorha?
Yeah. Yeah, there are several Yorha units that kind of uncovered not necessarily the truth, but the nature of why Yorha exists. And they kind of said, we don't want any part of that, actually, so we're going to disconnect ourselves.
I think I could show off her taunt.
Oh, you could do that. So they disconnect themselves and they go rogue, essentially, and Yorha wants to track them down because they see them as a threat to essentially what they're trying to do. And you kind of hunt them down. There's some side quests like hunt down different rogue units, and they all tell you a piece of the puzzle, which I think is why the side quests are so important, because they're all pieces to a puzzle. And then once you realize their situation towards the at the end of this game, at the end of this playthrough, you kind of look back and say, whoa, like, you know, there's a reason why they did this.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, it's not traditional in the sense like, oh, they are rebelling against what they see as an unjust authority.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than that because it plays with like AI a little bit and what AI can do to machines and consciousness, and it sounds all very abstract and philosophical, and in the way it is, but boy.
With all the questions it raises and whatever answers it does or does not give, do you think there's room for Yoko Taro to follow up on the concepts he explores here? Or is it pretty self-contained in that way?
I don't think it doesn't necessarily leave any like lingering questions. He kind of says what he wants to say
Right.
in the extent to finishing the letter E ending.
Right.
Once you see all of that, it's kind of like, okay, everything makes sense here. There, ending E does give you a little bit of a, not cliffhanger, but it does give you a sense of there's more to, there could be more to this. But I think that there aren't any other questions that I have after, like, oh, I really want to see like this happen. It's more like,
Right.
I've seen everything that can happen.
Well, it certainly sounds like the game gives you a lot of variety.
Yeah, there's a lot to-
narratively and action.
Yeah, there's a lot to chew on.
I know I've like harped on this a lot. Maybe harp's the wrong word because it's positive, but like telling people to play this game, obviously like the narrative and the actual things it does to screw with that narrative are super appealing in the long run. But in the short term, not just the platinum combat, how good it feels like here in the third-person action, but the thing I tell people is like I'm continually impressed with how easily the game just switches between like third-person action, then 2D, like run and gun almost, and then what Miguel was just doing, kind of almost bullet hell shooter,
Like
maybe not.
Ikaruga.
Yeah, and the way it actually goes back to something like that that's not on rails, but just gives you
It gives you some
a little bit less
variety.
yeah, but it's also fluid, and that it's just pretty amazing to see it.
Yeah, and
swap between them.
and you don't have to like recalibrate your mind, and it's like, oh, I'm playing this type of.
9S
this-
does.
That's hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I should add that there is a lot of like fourth wall breaking that I think a lot of Metal Gear fans will enjoy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Metal Gear, I feel like this is a very. It touches on some of the same things that Metal Gear does with like abstract like fourth wall breaking and kind of the way it tells stories. Especially when I think about Sons of Liberty, it does some things there similar to Sons of Liberty.
You dog.
I mean, they definitely like gave a nod to Kojima, or at least Metal Gear, with like I think right when the game came out, you could buy like a little like 99-cent or like $2 pack of skins for your little sentient little robot thing.
The pods, yeah.
Right, so you could get like a cardboard box version
oh,
of that.
I didn't know that.
What are some ways it breaks the fourth wall? Can you recall any specific examples right now? Does it literally come out and say, "Hey, you're playing a video game"?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
It does?
towards the end.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I think
I
by
was joking.
By the third playthrough, there's some of that.
And also, like aside from going into the hacking, and sometimes unexpectedly, it also plays around with your HUD. There's at some points in the
Yeah.
game where you have no control of it. It turns on filters that you didn't know existed in the game.
Okay.
In a way that also like kind of fucks things up when towards the end of like the second playthrough or the third playthrough, like when you're trying to like trot along and then you're like moving slow and then it's like constantly like going back and forth between you moving slow and then moving at a normal speed. I thought that was like was a little too much.
You mentioned the pods. That
yeah.
kind of factors in the combat a lot in terms of your power moves. Is that the right way to phrase it?
Yeah, I think that's
Because right now you're just essentially. What is the one you have equipped right now, Miguel? I know you're busy. I don't know if you can.
the chain gun or the Gatling gun pod.
Yeah, and you could modify your pods. Some do sort of like homing attacks, but it's the firing rate is less, but
You could have missiles.
the firepower is
instead.
more potent.
And
Yeah, there's-
also, you just did like well-timed dodges. It kind of like warps you and stops time really
Yeah,
quick.
it looks really cool too when you're like cartwheeling and dancing around
There's
while
some
you're
pods.
fighting.
There's some pods that like will spin a sword or a spear around you.
Yeah, those
and
are
then-
annoying.
Yeah. Wait, you don't like them?
I mean, they're challenging, but
Oh.
they're just like annoying to kind of like dance around.
Oh, okay.
Man, this like it does a lot of cool things like animation, the way in which 9S, 2B, and A2 move, like the way you dodge and the way you like glide across the world and the way you swing your sword. It really makes you really like these characters and the way characterize them and give them a little bit of like backstory as to like how these androids work. It's pretty damn cool. And like look how cool that is. I'm gonna stick my sword in the ground and like taunt you, and I'm gonna whoop your ass.
Trash can.
Yeah. Oh, that's mean.
He looks like a trash can.
They're cute though.
Miguel, did you swap between different weapons all the time, or did you kind of stick to a select few that you were upgrading?
I like my blades, and sort of like the sword design. I think it was just sort of like a personal preference, but I sort of try to find a balance between what I liked aesthetically and also preferring whatever had like the most high attack power. Sometimes it just came down to that, and there is a mild upgrade system. Whoops, let's see here.
You better heal
Yeah.
yourself.
And there is an upgrade system where you could, buff your favorite weapons, and you can do that pretty much to like, the whole.
This is a very non sequitur, not a non sequitur, but speaking of PSX just happened, and they had that teaser, or no, Game Awards, they had that teaser with people are hoping it's Bloodborne 2. It almost reminded me of Bloodborne, or how like Souls games let you upgrade your weapon, like you have to, like specifically periodically throughout the game, rather than just like collecting this many like credits that you pour in. I don't know why I said credits. Battlefront 2 is on my mind or something.
Oh my god.
But you collect these specific items. Like Bloodborne's, like you get the shards or chunks or whatever you have to do it. So.
And it does also
they're
something.
called like the.
They're called chunks?
Yeah, like there's when you later in the game you get chunks, which I hope you actually something chunks.
And a parallel to like Dark Souls and Bloodborne is that the weapons also have a story to them. Each time you upgrade, it tells you a backstory of like the origination of, or the origin of each weapon. And some of it's kind of like, some of it's funny-ish, it's like silly. Some of it's also like very dark and haunting.
Yeah.
Especially like 9S's weapons. I didn't get to upgrade everything, but I was very interested in where it was going with that, because like many things in this game, the weapons and the side quests and the people you meet and the things you do, it all kind of builds this, it's a lot of world building.
Do you use a specific sword for the whole game, and then at the end of a 5th playthrough they tell you, oh, this was once used to kill infants?
They didn't do that.
Bet you feel bad. But
Shit,
did
man.
you?
Did I feel bad?
No, did you
Not
feel
at
bad
all.
that you were using a weapon that killed babies?
No, not at all.
Well, you should. I don't think you got this game.
Yeah, shit.
Not
That
kidding.
theme got lost on me, dog. My bad.
Okay, out of curiosity,
So-
how many more phases does this boss have? Are you like
Like 20.
closing in on the end or no?
I think we're getting towards.
We're getting near the end. You don't have to actually get the health all the way down.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes into like
That would be too normal.
a final phase,
Okay.
Right.
and I think that's not too far off from here.
You actually can only kill it with potions, healing potions.
Oh man, I hate it when like didn't the old Final Fantasy games did that. Where
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
did.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you can only kill the undead.
The
if you-
Phoenix Down,
Yeah. So, no,
Someone
none
gets
of
me. All
that.
right, thank you, Michael.
I feel you, dog. Hey,
I don't have anything to contribute.
y'all gotta play more Final Fantasy. Old ones
Like a
though.
scorpion. This robot.
A lot of the robots have
You're
some.
still climbing this tower?
It's
It's a tower.
It's
Does it go to
a
the moon?
long ass tower, man. Oh, does it go to the moon? That's a very good question.
Does it go to heaven?
I mean,
Ooh.
if nothing else, this does show what I was talking about, how it switches between perspectives and genres just within this specific boss fight.
Yeah. Really keeps the gameplay fresh, because I don't think I would want to hack and slash for an hour straight.
Yeah.
Is that how long this boss fight is?
Well, I don't think so.
No.
No, you're a pretty high level. You can get through this.
Speaking of Platinum Games, Bayonetta 3
Oh
that
yeah.
was during Game Awards.
A very nice surprise,
Yeah.
as was the announcement that 2 and 1 are also coming to Switch.
Yeah. Soul Calibur 6 was also announced.
I thought it was. I thought like, you know, Reggie being very stoic. I thought the reveal of Bayonetta 3 was like pretty cool. He's just like, oh yeah, by the way, we got something more for you. And I was like,
Is stoic the word you would use to describe Reggie, or like
Or not.
intense, or
he's a gentle giant.
sinister?
Polished.
Sinister.
Yeah, he's a very polished villain in my mind.
I always get this sense of foreboding when he comes on stage. Something
Yeah.
terrible is
I
about to
think
happen.
Bayonetta's gonna have another hairstyle.
Miguel doesn't even look at the screen while he kicks the shit out of Koshi.
Oh man, pods, man, pods are dope. I think
I don't know
that.
if
Seems like,
can we check out? We can't check out pods right now.
Yeah, you need
We
a
Yeah,
actually-
show us that quick and then play a little bit more of this boss fight, then we'll call it a day.
pod programs. Only 42%.
This is
or
one thing, the
47.
game took me a while to start figuring out.
Oh yeah, here's the chip
Actually,
system.
I don't think I have figured out the chip system completely.
yeah.
I mean, I used it, but
You have these slots here that basically you can use to customize your character. And for the purpose of this stream, I shouldn't take up so many slots with just
XP gain.
But things like increased melee defense and
Increasing your attack and stuff.
increasing the attack.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
the color-coded bar on your right, can you so these ones you're in right now, could you ostensibly use a bunch of those that take up less space? Or do you have to, are those pinkish colored upgrades in the bar in the middle, are those
Let's
worth
see.
more space, or is that just like a specific
Is it,
slot
like,
for it?
fixed?
The color coding
Yeah,
is
they're
for
different categories.
Yeah.
Some is melee, some are passive, some is the HUD. You don't need to see the enemy life bars, but one is actually an OS chip. Which, spoiler, if you actually remove your OS, It actually creates one of the other endings.
Yeah, one of the
because you don't have
gag
operating
endings.
system.
So ostensibly, okay, so these smaller HUD upgrades that are showing up as those small brown slits, if you were to remove all those, would you have space for another bigger pink upgrade?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's a way of doing a no HUD mode.
Oh.
Almost, because
Gotcha.
those are all
And
those
you
are
get a
all
new
indicators.
ending. What is the ending if you remove your OS chip?
It's just one of those. It's one of those gag endings where the credits scroll like super fast, and then you just taken back to the beginning
Gotcha.
screen. But yeah, the chip system. I was looking at your setup. Your setup is. I'm not gonna say whack. That's mean.
Well, it becomes this case. Are you the type of player that are you sort of like doubling down on your strengths, or do you want to be like really diversified?
Yeah, I think that for me also with the chip system is that it gives you can play. We mentioned this earlier. You can play the way you want depending on your chip setup, and different ones take up different amounts of slots. So in a way, you have to think about like what am I going to prioritize during this phase of the game. It's an added layer to the third-person combat,
Which is why there is you can customize loadouts.
Yeah, you get 3 loadouts.
Right.
And
Yeah, you have primary, secondary weapon, right?
yes.
And
Yep.
none of the weapons are tied specifically in one category. It's just however you equip them.
Yeah, if you want to have that on triangle as your heavy attack, then it'll do a little bit more damage. Yeah, so that's a chip system. Chips are cool. Adds another layer to the game. One of the key chips though is like once you destroy an enemy, it'll give you your health back. I think that was key to towards the end of the game.
Fully back?
Like
Or you'll
each
vampire recover a little bit.
depends on what level of the chip is.
Okay.
So the higher level chips will give you more health if you destroy a robot. And I think in the third playthrough chapter, that was really key when you're fighting heavier enemies and a lot of them. Some of those battles can drag on a little bit. They almost become like bullet sponges, as you can almost see here. And some of those attack upgrades and range attack upgrades come in handy if you want to cut those battles a little shorter. But yeah, also pods, you can upgrade the pods.
So with this boss fight, this would probably take even longer if it was your first time through, right? Like what level did you finish the game at your first playthrough, Miguel?
Probably level 40.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an example of like these fights can last a while. They do become bullet sponges in a way. But depending on your pods, you can use the missile upgrade. I think is very effective for situations like this.
Missile, you can fire missiles from your pod.
Yeah.
Bot thing.
It does a little bit more damage. So.
Here we go. Are we getting?
Are we at the
Something
top
happening?
of the tower? I think we got one more phase with 9S, maybe.
Okay.
No, I think this is the. Oh, yeah, this is one more phase
Fine,
with
back
9S.
to you.
Yeah. So here's another way in which the game throws a different gameplay element at you.
Now you're a Gundam character.
Yeah, this is almost like Zone of the Enders.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
that swing.
Yeah, Zone of the Enders. I know y'all bought that game so you can get the MGS2 demo disc.
Second Zone of the Enders is actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
Even today, but the man, I was playing the VR upcoming Zone of the Enders game.
Nah.
The movie is one of my
Hard
favorites
pass.
of all time.
Ooh,
The
shit.
movie Zone of the Enders with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Sorry?
Ender's Game. Mike's making it.
Wait, I'm sorry, what? Who said that?
Oh, Kojima directed it, right?
I've never seen it. I just know it's bad.
Starring
I've heard
Norman
that.
Reedus. Oh man.
Oh man. That's
You guys are
stranding.
about to say
Is there a baby inside this robot?
Oh man, that would be cool. What if Death Stranding is like the next step for the true ending to this game? Seeing as how Drakengard had dragons and then teleported you to another universe.
There are all these theories that the baby's the one controlling Norman.
Oh man.
Don't fetuses control all of us when you really
Fetus.
get down to it? Feet-eye?
Feed out. Ooh man. That's what's up. That's all I gotta say about that.
Roshi.
Oh, come on.
So this is this is not the last phase.
Nope. I think we're
Close.
Okay, here we go. Evil eyeballs.
Yeah, that looks like
Slide to the left.
like a septic eye.
Is that what- I don't know
No,
what
no, septic eye is the YouTuber. I'm thinking of in Destiny the
Eye of
The
Sauron?
no,
No,
like the Devil's Lair.
The Century. What the hell are they called? I know what you're talking about. Servitor? No.
Servitors. Nah, kind of. Yeah, the bigger
Oh
ones.
yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. But yeah, we're not grinding for XP and loot here.
What's a skill meter I see? Is that what it says?
But the circular thing
Yeah.
around the pod, that was your cooldown for the for the special attack that you have. Oh man, this is.
There you go.
There we go.
Got the missile
Starship
upgrade or
blows.
Wait, is this it? This is it. This is it. No, it's not it yet. Oh
Almost,
man.
though. Tricked you into thinking it was.
You should have turned it down to easy and just like blew right past all of these enemies.
No, this
'Cause
is selling it for me.
There's a lot of people say to just turn it down to easy and just like blow past through the
game itself.
game itself so you can see all the story bits. But I played it on normal. And I think that
That's what people did with like Wolfenstein.
yeah, I think you can do that. I think you'll still get the most important parts out of it. But I think like going through all these battles and just how arduous they can get. Did I use that word right?
Yeah, you've got to feel the weight of the
Yeah.
challenge ahead of you.
You got to feel the struggle of these androids. Just how
Struggle is
tiring it
feel.
is. I think towards the end of the third playthrough, you really get a sense of like how tired everyone is of fighting this damn war. I mean, in the first thing it says the 14th Machine War,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, how far in the future is this supposed to take place, by the way?
1945.
That's what's up.
That's not the future.
that is hella future.
1195?
No, 11:45
Gotcha.
AD.
That's 9,000 years in the future.
That's
I
the
thought you
hella
were saying
future, yo.
Like 1,000 years ago. Wait, what did I miss?
This is
This
like,
fucking happened? This wasn't in the Bible. Socrates conveniently skipped over this.
but somehow they know all of these philosophies. These robots do.
Aristotle's.
Yeah,
They were all actually
the
androids.
fanboys of Engels.
Oh yeah, Engels.
Nietzsche.
Nietzsche.
Nietzsche. Nietzsche. Oh man, that
Nietzsche.
wacko.
Niche. Yeah.
This game is very niche-y. Super good pun.
That was whack, dog. I watched after I finished this, I went down the rabbit hole and watched like a 20-minute video that tries to connect Drakengard 1, Drakengard 3, Nier, and then this game. And boy, that was some mental gymnastics you have to do
Yeah.
for that. I think
You
if I-
watched it.
I watched it. I
Yeah,
did.
whoever created it is cashing it in right now.
I know.
just kidding.
Shouts out to her. She made it was like 20 minutes. I forgot what it was called, but it was pretty dope. Thinking about because I think if I recall correctly, one of the endings to Drakengard 1 feeds into Drakengard 3, which one of the endings from there feeds into Nier, but it's not one of the main endings, and they played off that. And it's all in a way, it's like almost you don't have to play those games to enjoy this. So if you're thinking like, oh, there's this first Nier game, should I play that? Like, nah,
Yeah.
just go into this straight up.
It's more of a shared universe than
Yeah,
anything.
that's a good way to put it.
Is the first Nier comparable, very comparable in terms of gameplay? Or
No.
super different?
No.
Super different.
Or without Platinum involved, they took a completely different direction.
Yeah, and they did some weird things with that game too, where for the Western audience, they released the game with a lead character that was made to look more like brutish and like Cro-Magnon, where it was a more, if you were like an effeminate like male character in Japan.
They had two versions of the game.
In Japan they did.
Yeah.
Yes, we only got the one over here.
with the
With the British guy, with the I say Cro-Magnon because his brows were
cheap
huge.
as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was Nier Gestalt, and then Nier
Replicant.
Replicant was the Japanese one.
I've been told I have Cro-Magnon eyebrows.
Me too. I got like really strong brow bones.
Brows?
Brow bones. There you go.
Nice.
So I might be a descendant of Cro-Magnons, but aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
A direct descendant. Shit, I came straight from the
More of a
old ages,
Neanderthal.
done. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Are we there yet?
Close.
Close. Look at that.
According to the health bar.
Koshi.
Close out the stream right when you kill him. Or right after
Yes,
it, I guess.
that'd be
Would
it.
that be the end of the game? Will there be a
Nope.
lot?
Nope. There's a lot more
There's-
game after that.
Gotcha. I thought you were
I
saying.
would say a lot more.
I would say a lot more. Not a lot more.
I'd say
It's
there's a
heavy
lot.
though. It hits you with a lot of deep shit. So there we go.
All right, let's watch this.
Ooh. Look how cool A2 looks. So badass. Look at 9S with his pew 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 pew
Pea
pew.
shooter.
Even 9S becomes pretty cool.
Eh.
Uh-oh.
Things have shifted dramatically. They can see now.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's also
Blindfolds off.
the blindfolds are off. They can finally see the truth.
Oh Hiroshi and Roshi.
A2
All right.
had her blindfold off the entire time, so she knew the truth.
This might be the time to call it.
Yep.
All right, sweet. Miguel, thank you so much. Great
No
job.
problem. Thank you.
For especially considering you were talking as well. That was pretty impressive. So that was later on in Nier Automata. And again, that was GameSpot's number 10 game of the year. Again, for each weekday, we're going to be announcing a new one. And then on December 20th, we're going to do a mega stream with our number 3 game, our number 2 game, and our singular game of the year. But until then, stick around. We're going to be doing that all throughout next week. And thank you so much for joining. Go check out more about Nier Automata, Miguel's review from back in the year, and then we talked about the DLC stream that we did. We covered this game a lot, and yeah, you can go check it out. If you haven't played it, go try it out. Of course, GameSpot voted it. It's number 10 in a fantastic year. But again, stick around the rest of the week and next week, and we'll be showing off more games. Tomorrow's number 9, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you then.